This is not a hallucination. It is, in fact, episode 119 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. Yes! Within days of the previous episode, we have another episode. It is the year in review. It is Dave asking generic questions. It's us trying to figure out this man. Will's trying to not talk about this. Nope, that's it. That's all you're getting. We're done. We're done with that. Year in review, on to 2022. More Brady slander in the future. More so, less so today. But in the future, more Trout slander and more things you can expect. That and more on this episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. You wouldn't think that after a nearly 5-hour and change live stream on Friday, Carlos would be able to bring it, but I am Carlos. That's Davaid.
Carlos always brings it. That's what he does. And just so you know, Carlos, there is some Brady in my year in review. So you're welcome or sorry, depending on,
You should generally just apologize. You should walk into every room and begin with an apology. That should be your new greeting.
Then I'd just become the ultimate Canadian. I'm sorry.
It's reasonable. You do support Hamilton. You should apologize.
Oh, boy. All right. You ready for my question for you, or do you have any stories you want to get off first?
Since the last one, I showed you a clip. It's not so much a story. It's just an appreciation, I think, that it needs to be emphasized. This is like Tribute by Tenacious D. You had to be there and you had to see it. The good news is it's available on YouTube. I showed Dave a clip of my magnum opus, Brady Hate. My single most wonderfully encapsulated moment of like pure, I'm just going to hit all the bullet points, but I nailed them one after another into hour 5 of a 5-hour live stream. Like I was killing it, Dave.
You did. You killed it.
I did. And even a Tom Brady fan, a guy who appreciates Tom Brady as a GOAT, was left in awe, was left aghast. And in the end, it's like, that was impressive. And I was like, I know.
Exactly.
So that is my story. Please begin your questions.
All right. So here's my first question for you, Carlos. So I was watching, and I this is obviously from a couple of years ago, but one of the wrestling DVDs I was watching was the 50th Anniversary WWE DVD.
Okay.
All right. So it starts with, it's 3 discs, and it starts with sort of a retrospective, from the beginnings of the WWE when it was the WWF or Capital Wrestling, I guess, first, and then,
Under Vince Sr.
Yep. And then obviously it goes all the way up into talking about, like the Hall of Fame and who's been in there and in retrospect of the 50 years and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. The last 2 DVDs, this DVD 2 and DVD 3, are all matches or promos. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious for you, Carlos. Okay. So I just want to put this on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 matches.
Okay.
So they picked 11 matches from the 58 years of 50 years of WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Can you name any of those matches that you would think they're on there? Because to me, I was like, a couple of them are like, yeah, for sure. And a bunch of others, I was like, really? Okay. This makes the 50 the 50? Okay.
Right. Hogan Andre WrestleMania 3?
Yes. And it's a different camera angle, sans commentary.
Right. Okay, question.
Which
do they have anything else from WrestleMania 3? Because there should be one other match, but I doubt they
do not have.
Yeah, they don't do Steamboat Savage.
They don't have Macho Man and Ricky
Steamboat. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I knew they would leave that one out, even though they probably should have included it. Okay, so for the most part, they're taking significant matches. So, Hogan Andre was a slam dunk. That was an easy one. Question. Do they have anything from the 70s?
Yes, they have one match from the 70s.
One match from the 70s. Was it Bruno Sammartino losing the title?
Who did he lose it to?
I want to say
it is a championship match. I don't think he lost though, but I could.
Was it Superstar Billy Graham?
Yes.
I think Superstar Billy Graham is the one who beat him for the title.
So April 30th, 1977.
I'll double check, but I think I would guess that would be because it was a big deal. Because you got to think Bruno Sammartino held the title for a really long time.
Yeah, for sure. He's like forever.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where when you beat him, it can't just be a dude. Bruno Sammartino. Bruno. Here we go. I'll quickly check. It'll take me 2 seconds.
Yep, no problem.
This was his first title reign. Sorry, you said 1977?
Correct.
So he lost it to. Wait, so you're saying it was in 1977 and he did face.
It was Bruno Sammartino versus Superstar Billy Graham, April 30th, 1977.
Gotcha. Okay, no, it was Super Stability Graham. April 30?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was defeated by him for the title, and he had held the title at that time almost 5 years.
Yeah. So
So
fair
like,
enough. That is
and
a
actually that was
significant
his
match.
second title reign, which is still another 5 years.
For sure.
It's not insignificant.
So far,
And
I would say that'd be 2 for 2 in matches in those 50 years. That would
it had to be.
I'm okay with those matches, both obviously so far.
Yeah,
So
they were
good.
significant for their eras. They were significant. That's why I asked if there's anything from the 70s. And
Yeah.
it would have had to be Bruno in it, and Superstar Billy Graham was one of the biggest stars of that time period too. Okay, so that means no more 70s.
And only one more 80s match.
Okay. 84, Hogan wins the title against the Iron Sheik.
No. Although that is a good match.
But it actually wasn't. It was a trash match.
Well,
but
okay,
it was
fair
a
enough.
significant match.
It's a very short match. It's a very short match.
But it's also a significant match. It's like you're kind of remiss. It's like you started Hulkamania with that. It's kind of important.
And a very typical Hogan-esque match.
It was, yeah. Okay, so we don't have that.
I don't think you're gonna get it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
The 1988 Royal Rumble.
The actual Rumble match?
Yes.
That was when it wasn't a pay-per-view. It was the one in Hamilton.
Yeah, it was the first one.
That's trash. Who cares? The first Royal Rumble. There were like 20 people.
I saw Jim Duggan, man. Come on.
That's trash. That's complete garbage. Yeah. Whatever. That's garbage.
Okay,
Absolute
don't worry.
trash.
It gets worse. All right. So moving on to the 90s, Carlos. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 matches from the 90s. Sorry, 5.
Okay.
Or 4.
Do
four.
they have? I feel like you got to have a Bret and Shawn match in there.
Yes.
There's a couple of
so
options.
the Montreal Screwjob is on there.
Okay, so they did that one instead of the 60-minute Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's a shame. 60-minute Iron Man was really good. Do they have the Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon ladder match?
Nope. There are no other Shawn Michaels matches.
Oh, too bad.
I'll give them to you, okay? Because this is ridiculous. Well, most ridiculous. So the first one is the first episode of Raw, which is fair, like having a match from that.
Yeah, the Manhattan Center, sure. Yeah, I guess
Koko Beware versus Yokozuna.
That is genuine trash. I've decided that is now worse than the 88 Rumble. I would rather have the 88 Rumble.
All right. Fair enough. Then they also have the King of the Ring final with Jake the Snake Roberts versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Which
Sure, the Austin
I feel
316
is a trash match.
No, but it led to the Austin
after
promo.
it.
Yeah,
right. The Austin promo is why you show that, but the match is actually trash.
But the thing is, you don't need to show the match; you just show the promo. I don't actually need the match.
No, they show the whole thing and the promo.
It's pointless.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the final match is the 99 Triple H versus The Rock championship match on SmackDown.
Excuse me? Pardon? A match on SmackDown?
Well, that's what it says on here, but SmackDown didn't start till after that, did it?
No, SmackDown would have been, that's pretty much the right era. It would have been like 98, 99,
okay,
thereabouts.
Sorry. So then, yeah.
Okay, but it was a SmackDown show?
Mm-hmm.
Why? ¿Por qué, Dave?
I don't know. I'm just telling you, man. There's a lot of matches on here that I would have made a lot more sense.
I think it's not even that. Like, based on the list you give me so far, I don't understand the criteria. Is it historical significance? Is it match quality? Obviously, not match quality, you know. But if it's historical significance,
be match quality.
If it's historical significance, like a match on SmackDown, I understand it's Triple H and The Rock, but The Rock has much, like, Stone Cold is The Rock's best opponent. If you're gonna
it was one of those matches where interference cost The Rock the match.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's a schmoz finish. Who cares? That's generic. That was par for the course in the era. And like the thing is, if you're gonna do like a Rock match in that, or if you're gonna do a match in that time period, that's just a random match. Why wouldn't you do the? It was Mick Foley against, I want to say, The Rock, where he won the WWF Championship. Because that was like the first one that really started to turn the tide for Raw, defeating Nitro. Even though the title reign wasn't very long, it was a huge. It ended up being a huge spike in the rating that night, based on Eric Bischoff derisively saying that, giving away the outcome. But a lot of people switched over to the channel and tuned in. It was like a big moment in the Monday Night War. So, like, from a historical significance perspective, it's actually a very critical match. Or if you want to go in, do they have any from the 2000s? Early 2000s?
Yeah.
Do they have Rock Hogan?
Yes.
Okay, Rock Hogan at WrestleMania 18? Okay.
Yes. That is
at least they included that one. So that's something.
Okay. Then another trash match. You ready for it?
Mhm.
The Battle of the Billionaires, hair versus
Oh,
hair for
come on.
WrestleMania 23.
Come on.
I'm like, okay, but I'm like Bobby Lashley versus Umaga.
We can't have a Rock Austin. One of the main events they did.
Yeah, nope.
WrestleMania 17,
There
WrestleMania
is no
19.
Rock Austin on here.
Such a waste. That's literally one of the biggest rivalries of the Attitude Era. And
Yeah.
they had multiple WrestleMania main events. Did they do Cena and The Rock?
No.
Once in a lifetime or
They
once
did
in a
not.
lifetime part 2?
No.
Trash.
Although on the best main events of 2010 to 2020 DVD, their match at the WrestleMania that was New York, New Jersey, that one was on.
Okay. Okay.
But so there's also a 6-team tag match from the Tribute to the Troops on December 20th, 2008. Cena, Batista, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Big Show, and Randy Orton. And
I needed something because I was getting irritated. What about tables, ladders, and chairs?
no, or tables, ladders.
How
and
about
chairs
Hell in a
too.
Cell? Mankind getting thrown off to his death.
No. Okay.
How about Bad Blood? You introduced Kane. Like I just named 3 that are infinitely better than anything you just named.
And the last one, the number 1 contenders match for the WWE Championship, John Cena versus CM Punk on Raw, February 25th, 2013.
Excuse me? The number 1 contenders match?
Yes. So whoever won that match got to face The Rock. So Cena won.
Why wouldn't you, if you're going to include Cena and Punk, what about Money in the Bank in Chicago? Where Punk wins the title. There's a combination of never mind.
Literally, that is on the best main events DVD.
But they didn't even pick the best match. They didn't even pick the best match of their rivalry. Like, come on, man.
And for you to go through because you know how much you love it. Here are the promos that are on this DVD as well.
Okay, can I give you one that I would pick ironically?
Sure.
It's a terrible promo. WrestleMania 6, The Ultimate Warrior, telling Hulk Hogan he's going to send the plane into a nosedive. It was fantastic. Horrible, but fantastic.
There's no Warrior on this.
Deservedly so. He was a trash promo, but that one was hilariously bad.
So you got, I guess it's kind of a promo. You have Tyson versus Austin, right? When Mike Tyson came out and Steve Austin attacked him.
Sure. That led up to the, I want to say WrestleMania 14 when Austin started his era. Sure.
So you got that.
Yeah.
Then you also have Mr. McMahon announces the purchase of WCW.
Yawn.
Exactly. And finally, you have the pipe bomb.
At least that one is interesting. No. If you're gonna do promo, like, look, it's not the best promo in the world, but for me, the pipe bomb promo was great. That was a good one. I'm a big fan of the. I was a big fan of the promo that Stone Cold did when he was feuding with The Rock for the Intercontinental title, and he threw the Intercontinental title into the lake. That was very funny.
I do. I remember that.
So that was a fun one. Significance wise, the Chris Jericho introduction promo when he made the show up, the Y2J calendar, countdown. Mm-hmm. That was a good one. There's a couple of really good promos in the Shawn Michaels Jericho feud that were like good promos, like excellent promos. Just trying to think. There were a bunch from the Rock always kind of leaned a little bit too much into comedy, but if you like your comedy, The Rock and the Hurricane, when he was Hollywood Rock, had an amazing series of vignettes and promos that I would include it just for the hilarity alone. Because for a brief moment in time, the Hurricane, Shane Helms, was in the main event picture feuding with The Rock.
Yeah. So basically what I would say here is from watching this, like the documentary part's good. It's interesting. There's not a whole ton of stuff that I didn't know in it, but it's okay for what it is. But literally, you've got the Bruno Sammartino versus Superstar Billy Graham, check.
Mm-hmm.
Hogan versus Andre the Giant, check.
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And then I'll give you Hogan Rock. Cause sure. But otherwise,
Hogan Rock makes total sense.
Trash.
It was a big one. Yeah.
Sorry?
No, that list is garbage. There's a lot of it. Oh, and here's another one that's like a dark horse. If I was to recommend it to somebody, Go check out one of the interviews that Mankind McFoley did with JR early on when he was establishing that character. Some of that stuff was really good. Like there was some really good stuff there. I would say that's a big one. If you wanted to do like a big moment there, a big like promo moment, what about when Vince McMahon revealed himself as the higher power?
Ooh.
It was stupid, but it was funny, and it was a build up to a storyline. Like it was a whole thing.
And it worked for what was going
Yeah,
on.
for the moment in time, it was a big moment for the moment in time. Even if you wanted to include something that would be a precursor of a big thing down the road, what about Triple H's promo where he did the drop the ball promo? So Shawn Michaels lost at WrestleMania, and then Triple H basically rebuilt DX with the New Age Outlaws and X Pac, and then they continued forward as DX, and then that was the beginning of his main event push down the road.
Mhm.
So like that obviously
Yeah.
had a big bearing of what was to come.
Lots
Or
of
one more
choices
for
that
you.
they chose
Yeah.
not to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Or
just
one
thought it
more.
would. Hmm?
One more real quick. What about when Kurt Angle was doing challenging people and a young John Cena showed up and said he had ruthless aggression, punched Kurt Angle, and it was the first exposure that John Cena had to the masses.
Yep, I do remember that match.
But like I said, that would be a very relevant one. In retrospect, people would be like, "Oh, actually, that was a big deal at that moment because it laid the groundwork for what was to come."
Hmm. Yeah, no,
All of
I
those
mean,
are better choices.
there's so many better things you could put, right? As for a 50th anniversary retrospective, and these are your matches.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, maybe basically two and a half of them, you think, yeah, that's fair, and the
Mhm.
rest is like, really? No Undertaker match? Come on.
Most Undertaker match. I'll be honest. Some of the later WrestleMania ones, not the latest ones.
No, but like
Uh,
you're talking about like the Shawn Michaels one,
Yeah, or Undertaker DH. Sorry, Undertaker
Triple H.
Triple H. Triple
Hmm.
H. There was a couple of good ones he did with him that I thought were really good. Oh, here's a good one. If you just like an interesting story, if you like story in your match, what about the Ric Flair retirement match with Shawn Michaels?
Yeah.
That was a good one. They did a really good job in it. That's what I say. Like for me, if you're going to include matches, not including tables, ladders, and chairs is a travesty because they had like an amazing. They basically set a bar and a standard, and they're still trying to do TLC matches and ladder matches since, and they haven't been able to return to that standard.
Yeah.
And the
No,
three
the
teams killed themselves.
TLC 2,
Well,
right?
but what I'm saying tables, ladders, and chairs is you can pick for the first couple
Oh, for
because it was the
sure.
same teams. It was the same group of teams.
Yeah.
So
But no, but those matches with the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian were
yeah,
unreal.
yeah,
Absolutely
they
unreal.
were top tier and they hold up. You can watch them again and it's still good. Like it's
Yep.
still really good.
Yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
I just thought you would enjoy that when I was watching it and saying, I'm like, this is trash. Like these matches, other than a couple, are trash
Mhm.
compared to. I mean, were there some good matches? Like was the Cena versus CM Punk match? It was a good match, but I don't think it has any place on a 50th anniversary
It
retrospective.
wasn't even their best match of that run of that series. So it's like, no. By the way, I what year did they release that set?
I don't know. I don't know because I didn't pay
Okay, the
attention.
reason I'm asking is I'd be curious if they would have been around after WrestleMania 30.
I mean, I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, because if it was after WrestleMania 30, you could have included the Daniel Bryan, Batista, and Randy Orton triple threat.
So 2013.
13.
Yeah, end of
That's
2013.
so maybe not. I'm trying to remember. That was a
You
long
want
time ago now.
WrestleMania 30?
Yeah, 30.
Let me
Because
just
that
see.
was in Louisiana. I don't remember what year that was though. So whatever year that
2014.
was.
So it was a year after.
Too bad. That WrestleMania 30 match was really good. And they had a great story leading into it. That was the whole Yes movement. There was a lot of momentum in that one. A really good match back then. That was the first time, like, Daniel Bryan at the time had runs with the heavyweight championship and stuff. But that was the one that, like, ended and culminated a great storyline that really put him on the map and solidified him henceforth as a guy. And obviously, he can still work off of that to this day. And then was able to build up more off of his career off of that going forward. Um, but yeah, that would be infinitely better than some of the choices they include in there.
Facts.
Royal Rumble 88. Good lord.
Anyway, so continuing on with continuing on with wrestling, but moving into the top stories of this year.
Go on.
All right. So I present them in no particular order. There's no
Mhm.
countdown. This is just here's what's been on my brain. Is all the releases from WWE.
Mhm.
I think that's a big storyline. Not only because of what that means for WWE as a company and the speculation of why they're releasing so many people. Is Vince going to sell? Is that sort of where they're headed? kind of thing, but also because of what some of them have meant, in case of somebody like Malachi Black, for example, what that means for AEW,
Mhm.
right? And the fact that I think Tony Khan has been pretty, I don't know what the word is, but he's picked and choose. He hasn't been like, oh, come everyone, please come,
Mhm.
right? He's looking at the talent that's being released, and if something makes sense, then he's signing them, and if it doesn't make sense, and there's a few people, for example, like Braun Strowman. Like, I'm kind of glad he didn't sign him.
Yeah, well, I don't think he would fit. Right now, he did the thing. He made an appearance at Ring of Honor for
Hmm.
their last show under the current banner. Um, I could see him being usable in Impact. He and Morrissey could have themselves a match of two really big guys. That could be there's your Impact Hoss fight. You got these two big dudes because Morrissey is 7 feet tall. Braun Strowman is right up there, and he's become a lot more of a bodybuilder type right now. Like he's
Hmm.
very lean, but also very muscular. Um, and Morrissey has gotten into great shape. So it's one of those things where the two of them in the ring would be like, oh my, Hoss fight, similar to what I mentioned in the last show.
Yes,
That would be the definition of a Hoss fight because those two dudes are both big. And it'd be fun. It'd be just a silly, but it would be a fun match to have a match or two with those guys. That'd be
yeah,
kind of enjoyable.
for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, but I mean, and also the fact that there's been something, was it like 80 some odd people or something like that that have been released by
Give or take,
WWE,
yeah, for the last year. Yeah.
right? Which is I think that's a significant amount of people.
I would say, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. If we put a button on it, it would be this. It's changed the landscape of the rosters in a lot of places and a lot of talent because it's been impactful in that way. That I think would be the fairest way to put it.
All right, so there's there. Number two, again, not particular order, but I'm going to say them as the numbers I go in. Tom Brady will not die. And what I mean by that is, dude, can we just please move on? Like, here's Tom Brady, who, okay, fine, like the New England thing finally ends, and we're like, okay, maybe we can stop hearing about Tom Brady every 5 seconds. But no, because he cakewalks onto a team that is stacked, as you
Mhm.
mentioned in your other
My
podcast
previous
slash
utterance,
live
yes.
stream,
My previous utterance, yes.
right? And basically waltzes into the Super Bowl.
So, Dave, can I offer
And
you?
hold on.
Go
And
ahead.
now he's still there.
Mhm.
Not saying the TBC12 method has anything to do with performance-enhancing drugs at all. It does. Uh, you know,
Vitamins and pears, brother.
yeah, it's true. It is. It is not performance-enhancing drugs. My apologies.
No.
It is all vitamins and prayers. But right, but it's just like, dude, I don't know if, I mean, the people who love Tom Brady, whatever. They probably wanted to play
Sure.
till he's like 65.
Hmm.
I'm over it. Like, give me more stories. Give me the next generation. Give me more Patrick Mahomes or whoever else. You know what I mean? I want more of that. I want
Justin
less of
Herbert,
Tom
Joe
Brady.
Burrow, Kyler Murray, some of the next guys.
Yeah, right. And those those are all exciting quarterbacks,
Mhm.
right? Especially Joe Burrow. Obviously, he's only his second year, but he's a good quarterback,
Mhm.
right? And obviously, Cincinnati as a team needs to get better, but they still have the possibility to make the playoffs, maybe make some noise. You don't know, right?
Mhm.
Kyler Murray, they up until last week were the number one seed in the NFC.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's a lot of those things that interest me more. I don't want to see like. Here's the thing: Tom Brady can win like 50 Super Bowls. I don't care, but nothing is drawing me towards anything to do with him anymore.
Mhm.
Right? It's like, right, if the Super Bowl's a good match, like the only reason you kind of watch it is if you're a Brady hater, as far as I'm concerned, because you either love Brady or you hate Brady, and if you're kind of in the middle, what the hell is the point in watching? Because what else, what are you really getting?
Mhm.
Right? That's my thing, and that's why that's a story for me, because it's like,
So I'm
for the love
gonna
of God,
so
let's move on.
okay. Are you good?
Hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna say something that's gonna surprise a lot of people. I don't hate Tom Brady. I don't like Tom Brady, but I don't hate Tom Brady. No, 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 no. You see, my friends, and allow me to offer some advice. If Carlos with his whiskey may offer you a piece of advice, folks, embrace the hate. By what I mean by that is this: I genuinely derive pleasure from projecting my hate onto Tom Brady, but it's not the kind of hate. There's different type. People don't realize this is what the unsophisticated masses don't get. Hold on, let me take a swig.
I like it, Carlos. I like where you're going with this.
Here's what the unsophisticated masses don't get, Dave. And everyone, write this down. This is important. There are different levels of hate. There are different types of hate. Much like a Sith Lord, allow me to educate you young Padawans. Please, allow me to explain. My apprentices. Darth Carlos will now explain this to you. So here's the thing. Hate is good. And by that I mean is there can be hate that destroys you from the inside and it consumes you, and there can be hate that amuses you and only fuels your power. Well, I have mastered the latter. What I mean by that is I enjoy slandering Tom Brady at almost every occasion where someone else brings it up. I will not be the first one to bring it up. Because if I was a hater of the other variety, where it's like, it just consumes me and I think about him day and night and drives me crazy, I find any excuse to mention Tom Brady in a conversation. No, I'm not interested in doing that. If it comes up in the context of a conversation and someone else brings it up, then a smirk comes across my face. When I showed Dave the clip, the chat that I have, who are a very supportive chat of what I do, who understand my shtick and the whole 9 yards, literally one of the comments was, Brad has just activated the trap card. Which is to say, Brad walked into it. I did not induce. I did not entice. I did not say, I need not even mention his name.
He had no
I
idea
did not
what
do
was
it.
coming.
Yep. And I had my fun. But the thing is, it is fun for me. It's legitimately fun for me. And here's the thing. And I mentioned it in jest during the same live stream earlier in the show. I said, the day will come that he will retire and he'll go to Canada. Same thing with Mike Trout. Some of the folks don't realize is that, guys, I can trash talk them at the Hall of Fame. I would be that guy just walking in. It's like, what are you doing here? I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but you're trash. It's like, but I've got 15 Super Bowl. Trash. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Whatever he does from here on in does not change my enjoyment in the trolling of this concept. I get my pleasure from that. So he cannot, let's put it, the Tom Brady man cannot hurt me, Dave. The Tom Brady man cannot hurt me. There is nothing he can do. I am impervious. I am immune.
But the thing is, because you have that stance and the way you actually feel about it, it's so much more fun because the people who love Brady, who are like, Brady's the GOAT, they get so worked up over it, right?
Correct.
Like I have on occasion on, Facebook or some other social media platform where it's like people I know we'll type it, like someone will be like, Brady the GOAT, and I'll just be like, Brady is not the GOAT, and they're like, you can't mean that. I'm like, oh, I mean that. And then you just watch it burn because they can't handle that. They can't handle you saying that. It's like, I don't actually need
and then they have a meltdown, and I giggle with glee.
And then it's funny because you just put out, and then I can't remember what the guy's name is. But the guy, there's a linebacker, I think he used to play for the Cowboys, who is, I'm going to look up his name in a second, but he's won the most Super Bowls of any defensive player.
Okay,
which is 5, right? And then I'll say, well, is he the best defensive player of all time? Right? Because that's the thing. People are like, well, he's won 7 Super Bowls. I'm like, okay, well, is this guy the best defensive player on time? Because he's won more Super Bowls than any other defensive player. They're like, well, it's not the same. The quarterback's different. And it's like, it's just so funny.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, other than when we talk on here or, unless I'm watching a game, I don't actually spend much time at all thinking about Tom Brady. I don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. But
it's also,
I'm
not watching
the
the
sense
games.
of this.
Yeah.
No.
But
I'll
that's the point,
watch,
though.
if my team's playing or if it's a team that if it's Buffalo Bills or something maybe or whatever, or if it's a matchup, like if it's Green Bay or playoff game, I might watch that. But I'm not going to just watch a regular season Tampa Bay game that I don't care of. And honestly, if you get a matchup of, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a matchup that would be just really, but if it was
we
Tampa
get
Bay,
the point, Dave.
whoever,
We get the point, Dave. We get the point.
Thank you.
We get the point.
Sorry. Thank you for stopping me.
Yeah. The only point that I would make to close this off, because I want to move on to the next one. The only point that I would make to close off is that for the majority, and this is the not hidden secret if anyone's paying attention, the reason why I can harbor no interest in Tom Brady one way or the other is that for the majority of my football watching life, he was irrelevant to me. I cheer for a team in the NFC. He's only in the NFC the last 2 years. So really, there was no scenario other than the Super Bowl where he was going to have any relevance to anything the Packers were doing. So I really didn't care. So it was just like, do you? Because the two teams never met in the Super Bowl. There were a couple of close calls where they might have been able to, and it just missed. Well, in both cases, the Giants beat the Packers in both those years, and the Giants went on to beat the Patriots, and it was funny. But so the point is, like, Tom Brady has had literally zero impact on my football watching life for 20 years. That's what's funny. I can actually do the most damning thing I can do for the Tom Brady fans is be like, actually, for me in football history purposes, for the what I've been watching, Tom Brady's irrelevant. It's as if he never existed. I don't actually care. But what about the Super Bowls he won? I don't care. He didn't beat my team for any of those. It made no difference to me. I'm not a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't care. I don't care that he beat them. The Carolina Panthers, the Jake Delhomme joke was funny. It writes itself. The thing with the greatest show on turf, hey, it was a shame for them. They underestimated them. They had Spygate, blah, blah, blah. That was the early ones. Later on, Pete Carroll and the Seattle. The only reason the Pete Carroll Seattle one is a little annoying is because they beat the Packers in the NFC Championship. That was one of the close calls. It could have been, the other way. That would have then I might have had a stake in that Super Bowl. It would have been interesting to me. But Seattle, they had them dead to rights in the NFC Championship and they blew it and let it go. They got Mike McCarthy'd. They got coached into oblivion and lost. That year, they probably should have gone to the Super Bowl. That should have been another Super Bowl for that team.
Was that the 15-1 year? Or?
No. The 15-1 year was the year after the Super Bowl. The year that I'm referring to was, I think, 2015, and it was the NFC Championship, and they had probably, I think they had like a double-digit lead midway through the fourth quarter. Was it in Lambeau
or was it in Seattle?
I want to say it was Seattle, maybe. But let's put it this way. Seattle was doing nothing for the majority of that game. They were in single-digit points into the fourth quarter. Like, Green Bay was actually doing a fantastic job. And then in the fourth quarter, they just started doing weird stuff on offense, and they muffed a punt. Like, they did a bunch of stupid stuff to lose that game. Mm-hmm. Really dumb stuff. That is the last game that I legitimately was frustrated. Legitimately frustrated. And after that, I'm like, I don't even know what to say about this team because Mike McCarthy is doing every dumb thing. This game was in the bag. It should have been like, okay, let's see what the Super Bowl matchup looks like. And instead it's like, how do we lose to those idiots? And then they went in the Super Bowl and screwed it up. Pete Carroll should have had a second Super Bowl ring. I was like, you guys, you got gift wrapped. The Packers gift wrapped you a Super Bowl appearance that you didn't deserve, and you couldn't finish the job? Really? You passed the ball to end the game? So stupid. That made it even more frustrating for me. I was like, well, then at least let the Packers take a shot at this because they were beating you for most of the NFC Championship. Like, this is frustrating. That was frustrating. But it wasn't because of the Patriots. It was because of what Seattle did. So my frustration is directed at Seattle. For that, they have my undying aggravation. But it's a shame. And to be honest, Seattle also deserves the blame for bringing in the narrative of the late career Tom Brady resurgence. Because if he had lost, by the way, they had lost that game, Tom Brady would have lost 3 straight Super Bowls. 3 straight. And by the way, the next one, they lost. So that would have been 4 straight. Where's your GOAT now? We completely changed the spin of the narrative. That's all it would have taken. One less dumb move by Seattle, and he's lost his 3rd straight Super Bowl, en route to losing to Nick Foles in the next Super Bowl, if history repeats itself. Mm-hmm. 4 straight Super Bowl losses. Did that sound like a GOAT to you? Nope. Nobody makes that pitch. I don't even hear the conversation after that. It gets real quiet over in New England land after that.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So it's a what if. It's whatever. But day to day, like I said, I'm not watching Tampa Bay Buccaneers games. It doesn't interest me what they do. I don't care. So it's
I only watch them because they're in the same division as the Saints. They play them twice every year.
Yeah. And I've got Red Zone. So if they put it on for a play or two, I'll see that. But for the most part, I'm not watching these games. So it's like, I can't even say I'm hate watching because it's like, I'm literally not watching. I'm not paying attention to anything you do. Yeah. I don't care about you. You don't interest me. When we get to the playoffs, I'm watching all the playoff games, including yours. So you're part of a larger group of viewing for the playoffs. Yeah, that's different
for sure.
Yeah. So like I said, embrace it, enjoy it. If you take it in good fun. Do you have any idea how enjoyable it was? The smirk that came across my face when he sent me a beautiful. I even said, "You put it on a tee for me." Oh, this is so good.
It's true.
I had glee in my heart, Dave. Glee. I had the Christmas spirit was imbibed within me in that brief moment. That was it. That was my moment.
I love it. All right.
So what do you got next?
Next one. And this is a COVID-related story, but not specifically about COVID. But the way COVID changed things makes this a story.
Okay.
And it's a continuation. The Montreal Canadiens make the Stanley Cup final, and then proceed to suck more than they probably ever sucked in their history. Not in the Stanley Cup final, but now, where they're literally the most irrelevant NHL team.
I would have argued like that for years, but go on.
Oh, fair enough. But right, so the only reason not the only reason, but obviously because they realigned the divisions because of COVID and the cross-border thing, or lack thereof, right? You had an all-Canadian division.
Yeah.
Although Montreal played, they started off like gangbusters and they kind of fell back in the pack, but stayed there. But then they played the Leafs, and it was funny because most Canadiens fans that I talked to, myself included, were like, hey, you know what? If we can stretch this as long as possible and make the Leafs sweat, that's good enough. Because the Leafs are probably going to win because they're the better team. They have been all year.
That was your first
Right?
mistake. That's never true.
And then they beat the Leafs,
Mhm.
which was oh so satisfying. And then
Mhm.
you're like, hey, you know what? Anything after here is gravy. And then they swept the Winnipeg Jets. It was like, whoa, that was unexpected. But hey, we'll take it. Now we're in well, I don't know, not really the
Skip
conference.
ahead to our Tampa Bay Overlords, Dave. Skip ahead to our
Okay, hold
Tampa
on.
Bay Overlords.
And then we beat Vegas in I think
Yes.
6,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, okay, well they were in they were they've been there kind of sort of since they became a team, so good for that.
I get it. Mhm.
Then we get to Tampa Bay, and we did our best Dallas impression.
But Tampa Bay's the greatest, Dave. They're the best.
Well,
Best
they
ever.
have been, unless you
They're a
count
dynasty.
because they won 2 in a row.
Goats. All goats. Goats. Tampa Bay is the sports goat. Everything
But they
Tampa
don't have
Bay.
a peer,
All day long.
Carlos. They don't have a peer, so they're not the go to shit until they get a peer. I don't care what anybody says.
But they might have Jimmy McCarthy. Who knows?
I hope not. But that just makes them. It just takes them down a peg. Like the
Goated.
peer is probably the worst
Extra
strike
goated.
you can have against you.
Super goated. It's like now they're super goats.
But honestly, the fact that like Tampa Bay is kind of expected to be there, not necessarily.
Are they?
Well, the Lightning is. The Lightning is like
Okay.
the Lightning was a good team,
I actually expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be in the Stanley Cup final before the Lightning, but go on.
right? Montreal was not. They just got hot at the right time.
Yeah, that's how it works in the playoffs. Yeah.
But
Mhm.
still, I think it's a big story considering everything, and I think it makes it kind of even a bigger story because Montreal is trash right now. Like, what is their record? Hold on a second. I wanna look this up. I should have probably.
So
done
this big news
beforehand.
story was that Montreal did a Montreal thing.
Well, I don't
That's
know
it?
if you would call it a Montreal thing, but they're 8th in the Atlantic Division right now, Carlos.
Glorious.
Okay, which is last. Believe it or
Mhm.
not, they've actually won 7 games. They've played 31, won 7, lost 21, and had 3 overtime losses. They have 17 points, right? Which is the only team that's actually worse than them is the Coyotes with 14 points.
Okay.
But the next, everyone else is in the 20s. So
I
they're
completely
trash.
understand. I got your point. They're trash. I got it. That's not news, Dave. They're trash.
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, in terms of things for the 2020 sports year, the fact that they made the Stanley Cup final, that's a big deal.
Sure. I'll give it to you. I'll humor you. But
Oh,
can we move on to the next one?
Sure. What do you have any others before? Because I have.
No.
I only have one more.
I don't have any agenda. I did my Tom Brady slander last night. I consumed a lot of energy in it. So please continue.
So my last one, and the ones that I would bring up, and this is obviously, this one is going to carry into, one, it was expected, but 2, it's going to carry into next year. But and who knows what it's going to do with things, but the MLB labor stoppage.
Okay.
Right. And the fact that, this is probably also avoidable, but nobody really wants to talk to each other. And we'll see what happens. Right. But the fact that, there's a little bit of flurry of signings when free agency hit after the World Series.
Mhm.
And then now there's a moratorium on signings. So sort of where this is going to take us in 2022, I think is going to be quite interesting. When eventually, I mean, maybe it's 2023 by the time they actually sign one. I don't know. But when the new CBA comes into effect, whenever it does, how that's going to affect the people who weren't there. Because there's still some pretty big names out there. For example, Freddie Freeman, we probably will resign with the Braves. I don't know.
Mhm.
But he has not signed.
I get it.
Right. And there are obviously lots of teams into him. So somebody like that, he ended up costing himself a lot of money because of what may or may not happen with the new CBA. So I think there's a lot of, machinations that could possibly happen there. And to me, that interests me a lot because I care about baseball.
Mhm. Well, I care about baseball, but I am also very practical in the sense that I like to prioritize. So when it comes to it, I'm looking at it from the perspective of it's a lot of posturing from both sides. And I don't
As
think,
it always is.
yeah, but I don't think you're going to get any action from either one of them until like late January, mid-January. They're just going to sit there. But, I, for one, I can't speak for you, but I, for one, have endless confidence in like master negotiator extraordinaire. For a late year episode, you all are getting the special treatment. I hope you all appreciate it.
That's the third time he's been on.
Second time. The point is, no, it was third. Sorry, I had to cut off one of the things. Anyway, the point is that, yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think what Major League Baseball has to get through its thick skull, and it won't. Like, that's not their way. They don't have a lot of leverage long term. At the moment, it's fine. Because at the moment, they have a good TV rights deal. They have this, that, and the other thing. The teams are still profitable. All that great. But at the end of the day, they've got a lot of underlying issues that are going to be problematic for them. So to be honest, this year, I don't care what they do. Like, I'm not concerned about it. It makes no difference to me. The good news is, at this point in time, it has had no impact on Mike Trout's WAR. So that's really all I care about, Dave. That's the important thing for me.
It's the only thing you should care about, Carlos.
That's the only thing that really matters. Like, does it affect Mike Trout's WAR? No? Then I don't care, Dave. It's completely fine.
This is fair. This is fair.
The key here, though, is that they're going to keep posturing for a while, for weeks. And obviously, it's the holidays, so now they're not even going to bother meeting for a while. They're not going to talk again until January. I can pretty much guarantee that. And they're going to take their sweet-ass time. Really, the only time it begins to matter is late January into February, where normally spring training would kick in. For the guys like Freddie Freeman or whatever, I don't think, unless they fundamentally change the financial terms, I don't think it's going to affect their money too much, because certain teams are still going to want to bring in some players under contract. There is a lot of money being made by the players. I still sided with the players with this because the owners make plenty of money. So it's not like they don't have revenue streams and things to pull money from. And, don't cry for me if you can't make money. But Major League Baseball still has teams like Tampa Bay that can't draw flies. So, they play around with the idea of, well, we can do like half the games in Montreal. And it's like, look, at this stage of the game, if you want to bring Montreal into it, just bring Montreal into it. Just because no one really cares about the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, no one. But
I think that could be how they do it too, though, right? So that they end up doing this sort of half and half, like they'll play.
Well, that's what happened when Montreal went the other way. They went in Puerto Rico for like whatever, a season.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you would have your schedule where you'd play when it's cold, like so the beginning of the year you play in Tampa Bay, then the summer you play in Montreal, and then maybe the fall you go back to Tampa. I don't know, but you figure that out, right? But it's kind of just a ploy to eventually just get more and more games in Montreal. So you start maybe half and half, and maybe the next year it's 60-40 split in games, 70 or whatever, until finally the team just moves to Montreal because if it looks like it's going to be more profitable in Montreal and they can get a stadium, I don't know if they will or not, but if they can get a new stadium built.
Well, you can't retrofit the Big O, Dave? You're not confident in their ability to retrofit the Big O again?
No, not even.
Come on, a piece of concrete falling on you is a feature. It's a feature.
They should take off the roof. Let's put it see what happens.
You want them to raise the roof?
Yes, they should just blow up half that stadium. I mean, at this point in time, I don't really know what purpose it serves.
They paid $1 billion for it, Dave. It serves the purpose that we paid $1 billion for this. And we are not getting rid of it.
Off now, too. I think
they did, but they already paid for it. They're like, no, we already paid for it. You are using it.
At least they finally got decent field turf. The last season they were there. But the point is, right? I think that's maybe what you're going to go down. So there's that. I think those are kind of things that are interesting about baseball, where it's going. Also, what's going to happen? Because you're probably right that Freeman's going to get his, no matter what the CBA is.
The top end guys are probably going to be okay.
But
higher
so that next kind of tier of people, the sort of middle class of the free agents, if you will.
Yes.
A lot of them may end up getting super screwed by this.
Yeah, it's generally is the middle guys who get squeezed.
Right,
the top end guys,
like the Yankees or the Dodgers, I feel like those types of teams have the potential to just rake if they want to. Once they do, because they're just like, okay, kind of like you, let's go.
Yeah, it just depends on what the arrangement, though. It depends on the financial arrangement is going to be the key. Because at the end of the day, you want to know what I would look at. Here's what I think. Here would be like my loose prediction for now. I got to think about it some more. My loose prediction is as follows. I think that what's going to happen here is I think that you're going to run into a situation where they, posture, and eventually come to a deal that's almost identical to their current situation, but with universal DH. They change 3 things, and this whole exercise was to change 3 things, and they get a 4 or 5 year CBA out of that. because they look into the abyss and realize that you guys know that this sport is not growing. It isn't growing at all. The average age demographic is skewing old. So it's not getting better, it's getting worse. So it's like you do realize you cannot throw away the TV revenue. You cannot throw away this revenue and these deals you have in place. You're going to be having a new trading card license coming up here because Fanatics has, that deal coming up. Topps is going to be getting out of the game potentially. So there's potential revenue streams that are there, but you only get the revenue stream if you make money. You cannot miss. Well, at the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do. But if you start missing regular season games right now, you have no momentum. So like you're literally at a standstill. By the way, you're not getting hurt yet, but you also have no momentum. So it's one of those situations where it's like, no, getting to opening day on time is mission critical to being able to at least try to build some momentum. What you're hoping is that some of your young stars keep taking off. But the only way you can do that is to put them on the damn screen. They got to be on there doing their thing for you to be able to sell the product, because you don't have much else to sell the product.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't be relying on mediocre ball players like Mike Trout. That, from the injury list, he's not exciting anybody. His stats on the DL were like otherworldly last year. Otherworldly. He was the greatest. He was the GOAT of the DL. Did you see that? It was like, is there like infinite war?
I think he had the best WAR of any DL player ever.
Is infinite like a war we can have? Is like the infinity sign? Can I have that as a war statistic for him?
If you're Mike Trout, you can.
Infinity. He's the best. The best. But yeah, if they miss any actual legitimate games, that's going to hurt them. It's going to be a long run because every generation that goes by, it gets harder and harder to sell the game. It is not an exciting game for the youth. I'm built in because I'm grandfathered in because I have a passion for the sport going back to my early days. Mm-hmm. And I played the game. So for me, it's like, no, I still love baseball, but I've said it for years now. I don't love Major League Baseball. I love baseball. I don't love Major League Baseball. I make that very clear distinction. The sport I love. Major League Baseball, I could take it or leave it. So if as a diehard, hardcore who's had MLB.TV for over a decade, if I really don't care that much, what does that say about the more loosely affiliated fans?
Yeah, for sure.
Think about that. Really, think about it.
Absolutely.
It's dangerous. You don't want to play that game. For their collective sakes, they better show up on time, get to work, and do your thing.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah,
100%.
So that'd be my opinion on that. Cool. Anything else you want to throw in there?
No, that's kind of where I wanted to end it with baseball. And I'm trying to think if there's anything. No, there's not really anything else I want to say. Like, I think you added sort of a lot to that made sense. And then anything else I was going to say, you kind of took there. So it's good. But those are my stories that I feel really stood out for me. Obviously, there's probably others if I really thought about it. Oh, we could pick this. Or, I try to go with overarching themes as opposed to any particular game or match or whatever. But to me, those four things stood out this year.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Let's end on this. Let's end on this.
All right.
Is there anything you are looking forward to? Again, we'll figure out the COVID thing as we go. We'll figure it out as we go. Is there anything you're looking forward to for 2022?
I am. Well, let's put it this way. First of all, I am looking forward to. Well, yeah. Sorry, I just had two thoughts at the same time.
That's
the
dangerous.
Most favorite thing that I'm looking forward to is Canadian World Cup qualifying. I did get tickets. They sold out. I did get tickets to the January 30th U.S.-Canada game at Tim Hortons Field.
I see.
Right? So for those of us who have been listening, they may know this, but I'm going to recap it. Currently, with 6 games left to play in the qualifying, Canada is first in CONCACAF. And the top 3 make it automatically. The 4th place team gets a playoff game against the winner of Oceania Conference. But I really think Canada's going to qualify, and so those matches, especially in January, they've got a really tricky stretch, because they're playing in. I think they're playing in Honduras. They fly back to Canada, play the U.S., and they fly back and play Honduras or El Salvador. Like they play El Salvador and Honduras are the games that bookend the U.S. game. So I think you're going to know a lot more, obviously. With those games as to sort of how Canada handles playing in South America or Central America, because typically they haven't done that well. And yes, Carlos, yes, Canada will be traveling to Panama to play.
Exciting. Dave, the question was if you were looking forward to something in 2022. You could have said Canada playing in CONCACAF. Like, that was actually the answer. That's all you needed to give. That was it. That was actually the actual answer to the question. I didn't
Sorry,
need the
I get
paragraph.
excited. I get excited about my CONCACAF.
As you well do. Fine. Fair enough.
The other thing I would say is I am looking forward to seeing how the Blue Jays roster and the Dodgers roster shape up.
Sure. All right. Seems reasonable.
How about you, sir?
Aussie rules football. Let's do it. Let's go. See, easy, concise, Dave. Concise. See, it's easy, right?
It's true.
All right. So that's it for us this time around. We'll figure out the thing. Probably, we'll see. Probably it'll be the new year. I think before the next episode happens. We'll see. I don't know. We'll talk
unless
about it.
unless something really happens that we're like, ooh, we really want to do something a podcast about that. We're probably done till the new year.
Okay,
But
that's
you
right.
never know.
So, assuming that's the case, happy 2021 into 2022 for everybody else. Happy New Year in advance. If we do have another episode, fine. We'll
And Merry
acknowledge it there.
Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, the whole 9 yards. Whatever holidays you celebrate and or enjoy those. Have yourselves a good time as best you can. Don't do anything too crazy. Don't look up Mike Trout war stats. That's a little too much celebration during this festive season. That's a little too much. You might get too amped up, too pumped, and jacked up. Don't do it. Do it responsibly. Look at Baseball Reference page responsibly. Relax, guys. Relax. It's fine. It's okay. But with all that said, that's it. That's good for me and Davaid, artiste extraordinaire. His little page there is there, and you can look at him draw pictures of miscellaneous wrestling characters and possibly his new thing, drawing visages of Mike Trout and Tom Brady and Tampa Bay landscapes. He'll insert a peer there just to feel better about it. But that'll be part of the thing. There's a whole realm of artistic endeavors that could go for us in 2022. This is very exciting. I'm very excited about this.
It's true.
Indeed. Other than that, you can look forward to more episodes coming up in the new year. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get your stuff. Better to check it out on YouTube because then you get to see the sincerity on my face as I say these things. That's very important. You got to see the sincerity. It's all part of the package. You get that. So that's it for me and Dave. Enjoy the rest of your 2021. We'll probably catch you in 2022. Catch you next time.